Long ago, in a land called Wallachia, there lived a man whose name was Vlad. He was a real person, not a monster or a vampire. But many people today know him as Dracula. Some think he was a vampire. Others say he was a hero. What is the truth? Did Count Dracula really exist? The answer is yes, and no. The real man, Vlad, was born in 1431. His full name was Vlad III. People also called him Vlad the Impaler. He got this name because of what he did to his enemies. He would take a long wooden stick and push it through the bodies of those who fought against him. He would leave their bodies standing on these sticks in front of his castle or city. This was a way to scare his enemies. It was also a way to say, "Do not come here, or this will happen to you too." This may sound very cruel, and it was. But during that time, many rulers did cruel things. It was not strange in the 1400s. Life was hard. There were many wars. People fought for land, money, and power. Vlad was fighting to protect his country from the Ottoman Turks. These were strong enemies. They wanted to take Wallachia and make it part of their empire. Vlad's father was also a ruler. His name was Vlad II. He was part of a secret group called the Order of the Dragon. This group wanted to fight the enemies of Christianity. Because of this group, people gave him the name Dracul, which means the dragon in Old Romanian. So, Vlad III became known as Dracula, or son of the dragon. But the name Dracula has another meaning. In modern Romanian, Drac means devil. So some people thought of Vlad not only as a strong fighter but also as something evil. Let's stop here and ask, was Vlad a vampire? Of course not. He was a man, not a monster. He lived, ruled, and died like a man. But many strange stories grew around his name. Some people said he drank blood. Some said he could live forever. Some even said he came back from the dead. These were just stories. But stories are powerful. One man helped make the legend even bigger. His name was Bram Stoker. He was a writer from Ireland. In 1897, he wrote a book called Dracula. In this story, Count Dracula is a vampire. He drinks the blood of people. He lives in a dark castle in Transylvania. He has sharp teeth and sleeps in a coffin. He can turn into a bat. He fears the sunlight. This book became very famous. People loved it and were scared by it. But the Count Dracula in the book is not the real Vlad. Bram Stoker never visited Romania. He read books and maybe heard stories, but he made many things up. He borrowed the name Dracula and the idea of a castle. But everything else was fiction. Still, the two became one in the minds of many people. The real man and the vampire mixed into one legend. But even before Bram Stoker's book, people in Eastern Europe told stories about vampires. These were not tall, handsome men with black capes. These vampires were dead people who came out of the grave. They were ugly. They drank blood at night. People believed in them. When someone died and strange things happened, villagers sometimes dug up the body. They would cut out the heart. Or they would burn the body. They did this because they were afraid. They wanted to stop the vampire. Why did people believe these stories? Well, many people did not know science. They did not understand why people got sick or died suddenly. If a man got pale and weak, and no one knew why, they thought a vampire had taken his blood. So when Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, he used this fear. He used the stories. He added the name Dracula, and made a new kind of vampire, one that could live forever and drink blood in style. The legend became a mix of truth and fear. The truth is that Vlad Dracula was a real prince. He ruled Wallachia 3 times. He was strong, brave, and cruel. He did many terrible things, but also protected his land. He was not a vampire. But the fear, the mystery, and the old stories made people think he was more than a man. And maybe, in some way, he still lives, through the stories we tell today. After Vlad became the ruler of Wallachia, he had many problems. His country was small. It was between 2 strong empires. To the south was the Ottoman Empire, ruled by the Turks. To the north was Hungary, a powerful Christian kingdom. Vlad had to make many hard choices. Sometimes he made friends with the Turks. Sometimes he fought them. Sometimes he asked for help from the Hungarians. Other times he fought them too. It was not easy to be a ruler in those times. You needed to be strong. If you were weak, you lost your land, or your life. Vlad was very clever. He was also very hard. He believed in strong punishment. If someone stole something, he cut off their hand. If someone lied, he could have their tongue cut out. He wanted people to be afraid of doing wrong. Some said that under Vlad's rule, you could leave a gold cup in the middle of the road and no one would steal it. People were too scared. One story says that Vlad invited many poor people to a great dinner. He gave them food and drink. Then he asked them if they wanted to live their whole lives like this, poor and hungry. They said no. Then Vlad locked the doors and burned the building with all the people inside. He said he wanted to clean his land of beggars. That story may not be true. Or maybe it is. We don't know. But stories like this helped to build his dark image. Many of these stories came from his enemies. People in Germany and Hungary wrote about Vlad. They wanted to make him look like a monster. They told tales of his cruelty. Some said he impaled thousands of people at once. They said he had dinner while sitting among dying men on sticks. They said he dipped his bread in their blood. These were not quiet stories told in the dark. They were printed in books and sold in cities. Vlad was one of the first people to become famous in print. His face was known. His name was feared. This made the legend even stronger. But not everyone thought Vlad was evil. In Romania, some people see him as a hero. They say he was a great leader who protected the country from the Turks. They say he was fair. They say he only punished criminals. He made the land safe. He was a man of justice. So, was Vlad good or bad? Maybe both. He lived in a time when you had to fight to survive. If you didn't, someone would kill you or take your land. Vlad used fear to keep his power. He used pain to keep order. But he also defended his people. He was not a vampire, but he was a man who did very dark things. After many battles, Vlad was taken prisoner. The king of Hungary put him in jail for many years. But later, he was released. He became ruler again for a short time. Then, in the year 1476, he was killed in battle. Some say the Turks killed him. Others say he was killed by his own men by mistake. No one knows where his body is. Some say he was buried at a monastery. Others think his body was taken by the Turks. Some even believe he has no grave. This mystery only made the legend grow stronger. A man who drank blood, who impaled thousands, who had no grave. It was the perfect story for fear. Many years later, when people read Bram Stoker's book, they began to ask questions. Was Dracula real? Did vampires walk the earth? Could someone live forever and drink blood? Tourists began to visit Romania. They wanted to see the land of Dracula. They wanted to visit his castle. But there is a surprise, there is no castle like the one in the book. Bram Stoker never saw the real place. He imagined the castle on a high cliff with dark towers. He made it scary and mysterious. Today, people visit a place called Bran Castle. It looks like the castle in the book. But Vlad may never have lived there. Maybe he visited it once. Maybe not at all. The real castle where Vlad stayed is in ruins. It is called Poenary Castle. It sits on top of a mountain. You must climb over 1,400 steps to reach it. It is empty now. But it was once his home. From there, he watched over the land. From there, he planned his wars. If you go there at sunset, when the wind is strong and the trees are dark, you may feel something strange. Not because of ghosts. But because of the past. The stones remember. The land remembers. And maybe that is what makes Dracula live forever. Not as a monster. Not as a bat. But as a story. A shadow in our minds. A name that means fear. A man who became a myth. After Vlad's death, the world did not forget him. His story traveled across countries and across time. In the 1500s, travelers and writers in Europe still talked about the prince who punished people with sticks. They told his story with fear, and sometimes with respect. But centuries passed. The world changed. New kings ruled. New wars came. Vlad became just a name in history books. Then, something strange happened. In the late 1800s, a writer from far away brought Vlad's name back to life. His name was Bram Stoker. He never walked in Romania. He did not speak Romanian. He did not read all the old stories. But he found something in a book. It was one word, Dracula. The word stayed in his mind. It had power. It sounded old. It sounded dangerous. It sounded perfect for the vampire in his new story. So, Count Dracula was born again, not as a real man, but as a creature of the night. The book Dracula became a classic. It was not just a horror story. It was a story about fear, power, and desire. People were scared of the dark, of strange lands, of unknown people. Dracula was all of these things. A foreigner with cold eyes. A count who smiled but wanted your blood. People loved it. And they still do. The book started a fire. It burned through the world of books, plays, films, and television. Soon, Dracula was everywhere. He was on the stage in London. He was in black and white movies in the 1930s. Later, he was in color, wearing a red cape and smiling with sharp white teeth. Actors played him in many ways. Some made him scary. Some made him charming. Some made him both. Every time Dracula appeared, he changed a little. Sometimes he lived in a castle. Sometimes in a city. Sometimes he wanted to hurt people. Sometimes he wanted to be human again. But one thing stayed the same, he could not die. People would not let him die. They wanted more stories. Tourists began to visit Romania again. Not because of history, but because of Dracula. They asked about the vampire. They wanted to see his castle, his grave, the place where he walked. People in Romania were surprised. Vlad was a real man, not a monster. But tourists didn't care. They wanted the legend. And so, the country changed. Books about Dracula appeared in every shop. Museums showed his story. Old castles welcomed visitors with vampire signs. Local people dressed as Dracula to take photos with tourists. It became a business. Dracula became more than a story, he became a brand. But some Romanians were not happy. They said the world forgot the real man. They said Vlad fought for his country. They said he protected the land when others ran away. They said he was not a monster, but a ruler. They asked, why do people love the vampire, and not the hero? This question is still asked today. But the truth is, the vampire story is stronger than the history. People remember feelings more than facts. They remember fear, mystery, blood. They remember the strange count who drinks at midnight and sleeps in a coffin. It stays in the mind. It is hard to forget. But behind the shadow of the vampire, the man is still there. Vlad Dracula. A prince. A ruler. A man of war. A man of pain. He was not good, not bad, but real. And sometimes, real people leave deeper marks than any ghost. In some way, Vlad got what he wanted. He wanted to be remembered. He wanted people to fear his name. He wanted his enemies to think twice before they attacked. And now, over 500 years after his death, people still say his name. They still look for him in books, in films, in dark forests, in moonlit castles. That is power. Not the power to drink blood. But the power to stay in memory. Today, if you travel to Romania, you will see green hills, deep forests, and quiet villages. You will hear the wind moving through the trees and maybe the howl of a wolf in the distance. It is a beautiful place, but also mysterious. The kind of place where stories grow. People come from all over the world. Some want to learn about history. Others just want to feel something strange. They walk through the ruins of castles. They take photos of dark towers. They stand on the stairs of Poenary, the real castle of Vlad. They look out across the mountains and ask themselves, was he really here? There is no music. No monsters. Only the silence of the stones. But in that silence, something speaks. Not in words. But in feelings. The legend of Dracula is not just a tale of blood. It is a story about fear, fear of death, of the unknown, of losing control. It is a story about power, how people use it, how people fear it, and how they follow it. Vlad had power, and he used it in a terrible way. But it worked. It made people obey. It made his name unforgettable. Some people believe Dracula is still alive, not as a person, but as an idea. A symbol. He stands for the dark side of human nature. The side that enjoys fear, that wonders what it's like to live forever, to be free from rules, to drink the blood of life itself. Maybe that is why we keep telling his story. Maybe we see a small part of ourselves in him. When you read the name, Dracula, it means more than just a man. It means a world of shadows, of full moons, of whispers in the night. It means cold stone and long silence. It means power that never sleeps. And yet, it all began with one man. A prince in a forgotten time. A ruler in a small land between empires. A boy taken from his home. A prisoner. A fighter. A man with a cruel plan to protect his people. He did not ask to become a legend. But legends do not ask. They rise from fear. They live in stories. And they walk in dreams. If you ever walk alone at night, and the wind touches your neck, and you feel cold but don't know why, maybe it is just the weather. Or maybe, just maybe, it is something older. Something watching. Something that remembers. Because names like Dracula never truly die. They change. They hide. They wait. And when the time is right, they return. Not to drink blood. But to remind us that stories live longer than men. And that shadows never disappear. They only move. Thank you for listening to this story. If you liked it, write about it in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories.